Hello, and welcome back to episode 70. We're gonna do the second quest here in the Discovery Tour. Through Fate and Fire. 870 CE, Isle of Ely. Anglo-Saxon Britain. Review. Dr. Alison Hudson. Brother Ulrich awakens on his first day at the Isle of Ely, ready to integrate himself into the monastic life. His quiet peace broken by an unexpected turn of events. The young monk is plunged into the depths of despair beyond all help. Alright. I'm really enjoying this. I'm surprised that I'm enjoying it as much as I am. I didn't really know what to expect when I started this. Come on. Through Fate and Fire. Brother Ulrich begins his first day as a monk in a monastery on the Isle of Ely. Unaware of the ebb flow of power, Ulrich has only one goal, making a good first impression.
Brother Elrich, awaken.
Elrich.
I'd best not keep the abbess waiting.
I know the journey was hard on you, so I'll let you sleep through the dawn prayer.
Good morning, abbess. Thank you.
Now, the sun is rising. You must not miss prime.
I appreciate the reprieve and the awakening.
Call it a weakness. Your father's name will be a stone around your neck in Ely. You've a difficult path ahead of you, I'm afraid.
Yes, abbess.
Well, there's nothing to be done about it. Better you prove yourself early than risk becoming the subject of gossip.
I will, abbess.
You may break your fast in the kitchen with the others once your prayers are concluded. We don't frown on piety here, brother. Should you wish to stay at chapel to pray to the Lord once your duties are concluded, you may be assured that food will be available to you, as long as you go to the kitchen before terce.
That's mid-morning?
Precisely, my son.
I must not miss prime.
Yet these scriptures are there as a guide, my son. When reading them, we must listen also for the voice of God, guiding us in the right interpretation of his word.
But how can we be sure our interpretation is God's will?
I know you long to understand the heart of God, Oswine, but you will go nowhere without the ability to listen to your betters.
Sister, I was wondering if I might consult you on a somewhat urgent medical matter after this morning's prayers.
Of course, Abbess. But would you not
Interesting discussion here.
aid of Father Bertwald if the case is serious?
Father Bertwald would have little experience of the matter I wish to discuss, my dear.
Oh, I understand. I'll do my best.
Thank you, sister.
Relics and Saints. Religion and Magic. A relic is an object considered sacred because of its connection to a saint. A holy person close to God. A relic could be something the saint had owned or touched. It could also be the finger, the skull, or even the tongue. According to the church, a saint's connection with God granted them miraculous powers. It was thought that they could help answer prayers, heal the sick, and advocate for the faithful on earth. Early medieval churches encouraged worshippers to believe that relics help to access the saint's power. Christian pilgrims traveled far and wide to see and touch the sacred objects, hoping for miracles. Filling the churches and bringing business to the town. The practice of bearing and petitioning saints and relics was known as the cult of saints. Because of their popularity, relics were placed in special containers to protect them from wear and tear. These were called reliquaries, as seen in this image. They were often made from precious materials. The most important and sacred relics would be held in a church, where the clergy controlled who could visit them. While the Discovery Tour wished to depict the value and sanctity attributed to a relic, the union of the Winchester reliquary in our game is fictitious. Okay. Lord of Illumination, Law and Justice. Ecclesiastics or members of the church believed that decoration highlighted the value of a written text. Illumination or the inclusion of splendid and complex paints was reserved for the most special and important manuscripts. Creating a book was a team effort. Many talented illuminators take part in decorating a codex or book. With stunning paints and illustrations. Some would paint letters in rich colors and gild them with golden leaves. Others would fill the margins with beautiful patterns, framed and embellished text. Sometimes there were no words on the page at all, only colorful illustrations as seen in 8th century manuscripts. What is up with my controller here? Like switching off and on all the time. Church testimonies, written and medic. Priests, monks, and nuns who survived Norse raids recorded their experiences on parchment. Their moving testimonies will shape later generations' understanding of the Vikings, but should be read with a critical eye. At the time of the Vikings, not many people could read and write. Many of those who could were church officials. The writings were created and kept in the monasteries. Most of the pre-conquest English manuscripts that survive to this day were preserved during the Middle Ages, and a handful of churches shown on the map. Because the clergy's writings were preserved, the church's side of the story endured and dominated the historical narrative. The church portrayed the Vikings as bloodthirsty, pagan brutes. This image still prevails today. But bias and political motives may have helped shape the church's records of the era. The Vikings were pagan or non-Christian, and the church disliked and often demonized pagans. The Vikings who would raid monasteries were a hated threat to the church's wealth and to the safety of its people. Furthermore, by portraying the Vikings as ruthless murderers, the church helped to drum up resistance to the invaders. The testimonies of clergymen could be helpful for Anglo-Saxon leaders fighting the Vikings. The more bad publicity they gave the enemy, the more effective propaganda it would be. It's true. This monastic prayer consists primarily of psalms supplemented by hymns, readings and other prayers and antiphons prayed at fixed prayer times. Together with the Mass, it constitutes the official public prayer life of the Church. The liturgy of the hours also forms the basis of prayer in Christian monasticism. Liturgy of the hours. The liturgy of the hours, Latin liturgia orarum, or divine office, Latin officium divinum, or work of God, Latin Opus Dei. Canonical hours, often referred to as breviary, is the official set of prayers marking the hours of each day and sanctifying the day with prayer. Canonical hours. The practice of Christianity, canonical hours mark the divisions of the day in terms of fixed times of prayer at regular intervals.
Pater noster, qui es in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum. Adveniat regnum tuum. Fiat voluntas tua, sicut in celo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitti nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris. Et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen.
Go to the kitchen to break your fast. For the girl, wow, level design. I had to stare at the wall all day, and it was a dream job.
Photogrammetry isn't just a very hard word to say, it's also an innovative technique for in-game textures. Determined to illustrate accurate surfaces, the graphics team travelled to England to capture every inch of stone walls and pavements, sometimes for 12 hours straight. A 3-metre wall would take 250 pictures, stitched together by specialised software. The final result is a 3D file with colours and depths, designed into tileable textures. These textures are then used by level artists and modelers to add onto buildings. To push the realism further, the graphics team also added uneven silhouettes with protruding stones, slate angles and damaged areas.
That is pretty cool.
Time to eat. And there she was an abbess. And then used to wear woolen garments. And she rarely bathed in hot water except before Easter. And before the 50th day. And before the day of Christ's baptism. And during the day, she rarely had a meal more than once a day. And from the time of matins, she stayed in church, praying until it was day. And through God's Spirit, she herself predicted when she would depart from the world. And she did then depart. And she was buried in the ground for 16 years. And when her body was exhumed again, it was found to be as undecayed as if she had died that same day. And a large wound had been open on her neck when she had been put in the grave. And when she was later exhumed from the grave, it had healed, so that there was nothing but a trace.
Strict diet. Anglo-Saxon churches despised all sins, including gluttony. It was believed that fasting or keeping the diet of bread and water would help monks and nuns to resist the devil and his temptations. Fasting and prayer were taught to purify the clergy and to strengthen the will against demonic temptation. Even if they were not fasting, monks and nuns would have been instructed to keep a strict diet. While not much is known about their food habits in the 9th century, scholars can make some educated guesses based on what the 10th century clergy were eating. It is likely that monks and nuns were mostly vegetarian. Meat or fish would only be eaten on special occasions, for example a feast like the one illustrated here. For the sake of self-denial, the clergy would have been allowed only 1 or 2 meals a day.
Are you well, Brother Oswin?
We must have silence at the Lord's table.
Brother!
Very well. Take him to the infirmary, but the bishop shall hear of your defiance.
Tell me, Oswin, where does it hurt?
Everywhere, brother. It's like there's fire in my veins.
I will find a way to ease your pain. I promise.
I must find the monk in charge. Father Bertwald, was it?
I hope you can treat that patient yourself. God, in his infinite wisdom, only gave me 2 hands.
Medieval Christian medicine. Medicine consisted of observing a patient's symptoms and deciding how to treat them. When seeking to heal disease, people looked to both herbal and supernatural remedies. Every medieval people believed demons and elves were to blame for some diseases and would seek supernatural cures for them. In some cases, ailing patients would be prescribed a religious remedy. They would be encouraged to fast, pray, or go on pilgrimage or religious journey. A pilgrim in this illustration has traveled to the tomb of a saint in the hope of being healed. One could also seek help from the saints, holy figures marked by their closeness to God. It was believed that saints could grant miracles and heal the sick. Christians could seek out something a saint had worn or touched and add it to the mixture, drink it, and hope that the saint's miraculous powers would do the trick.
The patient speaks of fire in the veins, Father.
An uncommon ailment, and one I don't know by heart. The scribes often copy remedies in the scriptorium. You may be able to find something there to aid you. But if not, Sister Winifred will be able to help.
Yes, Father. Scriptorium. Right, I remember where that was.
Do I?
Platten on den erbennes.
Yeah. The scriptorium, art and culture. The Latin word scriptorium described the room where monks and nuns copied and created manuscripts. Over time it would become one of the most important places in the monastery. In the scriptorium, surrounded by parchments and quills, monks and nuns, known as scribes, worked by the sweat of the brow to create, copy and eliminate text. Most of these works were written in Latin, but some were in Old English. Not all monks and nuns worked as scribes, but all of them were taught to read and write as part of their monastic education. Only the most gifted and meticulous went on to work in the scriptorium. The monk who created this image of Saint Matthew at his desk was called Hedwig Bazan. He was chosen to be a scribe because of his talent and precision as a writer. Hedwig's portrait of Saint Matthew depicts some aspects of what a scribe's working environment could be, with a chair and ink pot at the corner of his desk. The four humors. A tale of the four humors dates back to classically Greek. It holds that human body is made from 4 elements: air, fire, water, and earth. Each has its own associated bodily fluid or humor, which can shape one's personality. The humor blood was connected to the element air. Blood was thought to control someone's happiness and cheerfulness. Yellow bile was connected to fire. It drove a person's anger and impulsiveness. The black bile was connected to earth. It brought out melancholy and anxiety. Last but not least, phlegm, connected to water, was responsible for self-control and apathy. A person's humors could influence their mood and behavior. Sad all the time, they might have too much black bile. Angry at the slightest thing, too much yellow bile. The theory of the four humors shows how medieval scholars saw the world as deeply interconnected. As seen in this 15th century diagram, these thinkers understood humans to be a microcosm of the entire universe. Every element in existence could be observed within a single human being. Elf Hickey. The eye is yellow but it should be red. For a man, a yellow blackish facial look. For a woman, a livid red countenance. Those are among the tokens of devilish affliction and elven mischief. A yellow blackish facial look. Did he have that?
No. No.
Mm-hmm. Blood flux. Collapse the upper part of the belly or in the nether. Middle sore and inflation on the inwards. Frequent and often bloody evacuation due to infirmity of the throat, gut or colon. Those and even more are the tokens of dysentery.
No.
Can I help you, brother?
Yellow disease. The sudden growth humor either red, white, yellow or black. The body gains in bitterness and becomes as yellow as a good silk. Sort of veins under the tongue, the stroke is still associated to jaundice.
No.
Vivid pain on the side, very strong and vicious fever, a heap of sore on either side, weakened cough and dryness of the tongue, the tokens akin to them convey the presence of a liver disease.
No luck. I'll have to ask Sister Winifred.
Mm-hmm.
Sister Winifred! I've looked but can't find a remedy. Tell me, what is the cure for fire in the veins?
A dire challenge indeed. Ox's recipe for pain should aid us here. You will need double brewed ale, honey, feverfew, and wormwood. Though with the raids nearby of late, and the early first frost, you may have trouble with the latter.
Is there anything that can replace it?
Well, I have heard that dust from a relic can have miraculous properties. We're blessed here in Ellie to have several. Perhaps, if you gather some, the saints will intercede on your patient's behalf.
Thank you, sister. God bless you. Double brewed ale, honey, feverfew, and the dust of a relic. Should be simple enough.
I hope so. Ili, a monastery for all. Ili was among the monasteries that welcomed both men and women. Ili's founder was determined to offer a retreat to anyone, no matter their gender, who wanted to take up the religious life. The founder and abbess of Ili was Queen Aethelred of Northumbria. She was also known as Aetheldreda, Audrey, or Aetheldreda. She passed away in the year 679 and was buried in a simple wooden coffin. Years later, the coffin was opened so her remains could be moved to a new mobile sarcophagus. According to legend, those who peered into her grave met with a shock. Despite having been dead for years, Aethelred's body showed not a single sign of decay. The incredible preservation of her body was seen as a miracle, and Aethelred was declared a saint. This illuminated manuscript highlights her sacred status through the use of gold. Gold, seen here in Saint Aethelred's robes, frame and more, symbolized sanctity, importance, and direct connection to God. Mm-hmm. Parchment made to last. Parchment, a writing material, was made by soaking, scraping, and drying animal skins into a flexible, resistant sheet. While paper falls apart over time in colder climates, parchment can endure for centuries. Parchment was made to last while its content could be carried from generation to generation. This quality was recognized in the Viking Age. In 743 CE, King Adelbold of the Mercians praised the endurance of writing in a charter to Bishop Eldwulf. He wrote, "Whatever gifts men give with their words, if the gifts are to endure, they should be recounted and supported with written letters." Adelbold and others recognized that the written word would be a valuable record for people, places and events whose memories would otherwise fade. Because of this understanding, modern historians have been able to study many centuries old manuscripts like the one seen here. Raiding monasteries. The main goal of Viking raiders was to make a quick profit. Members of the clergy maintained that the monasteries were the Vikings' favorite targets, but did the Vikings truly single out the monasteries for attacks? Medieval Scandinavians may have not seen their attacks on monasteries as different from any other raid. New in town and unfamiliar with Christian institutions, the Vikings might not have been able to tell a monastery apart from any other building. There's another reason the monasteries might have tempted the Vikings: their location. As pictured here, monasteries like Lindisfarne were often built close to waterways. Much of the horror of monks and nuns has left them very exposed to Viking raiders who traveled by boat. Liquid gold. Honey attracts flies and apparently Vikings too.
Honeymoon referred to the Scandinavian practice of giving newlyweds a moon cycle's worth of mead. Which is too much mead. But honey was valued by Angles and Norsemen alike. It was then vital for the developers to represent the beekeeping practice as faithfully as possible. Depending on each region's real flora, fields of flax seeds, poppies, and heather were designed and implemented by modelers and level artists. The flowers used as a seamless way to guide players through their environment. The beehives, seen from afar, also act as a natural marker. You might say a beacon. And are surrounded by NPCs collecting the honey. Sorry about the beacon thing.
That's cool.
The nuns had set up to gather honey round here.
A life of prayer. The life of a monk or nun was all about prayer. They would gather many times a day to sing and celebrate the glory of God, but it wasn't all songs and contemplation. There was also hard work involved. Working in the fields, chopping trees, weaving textiles, and gardening were all a day's work for a monk or a nun. Some even kept bees, as seen in this illustration. These tasks were a form of prayer. Hard work was a way to commune with God. But keeping the monks and nuns busy wasn't just to teach them humility or self-sufficiency. It was also a way to keep them out of trouble. Hello?
Do I just take it? Or...
Careful, brother. You wouldn't want to get stung. The bees jealously guard their golden hoard.
I need honey for a remedy. Can you help me?
Of course. Take the honey from the table. I'll gather more for the abbess.
Thank you, sister. God bless you. One found. 3 to find.
Let's take a look at the map. These are pretty far away. Do we have a horse? I'm also sure that the monks had horses. But I'm glad that we do.
Feverfew grows best in full sun, and hopefully far from the sisters' bees. What does Feverfew look like again?
Good morrow, brother. What brings you to the woods?
Good morrow. Do you know where I could gather Feverfew or wormwood?
No wormwood left this season. As for Feverfew, no small white daisies are what you seek.
Thank you, brother. God bless you.
Small white daisies.
That's 2. Halfway done.
Magic and medicine. The church considered medical beliefs pagan and evil and forbade their practice. However, monks and nuns still believed in medical creatures like elves, and these beliefs continued to influence Christian medicine. Bolt's Leech Book, a 10th century medical book, shows how medical beliefs endured in the world of medicine. The book included remedies against sicknesses caused by elves, goblins, or the devil himself. If a person was suffering from elf disease, they felt a pain as though they had been shot. According to some, this was because they had been shot with an elven arrow. The book also included suggestions to fend off attacks by a more canonical Christian enemy, the devil. In this page, the Leech Book suggests a remedy against all Feondes, Costumium, all temptations of the devil. Mysterious forests. Careful when walking into the woods, you might get lost.
Level artists and designers used different types of forests to structure England's kingdoms. Oak trees, ivy and rowan in Wessex, heatherfields, Scot pine trees, moss and willow trees in East Anglia, beech trees, bluebells and autumnal birch trees in Mercia, and tundra bushes, western gorse, dead and frozen trees in Northumbria. Ubisoft Sophia even recreated Wistman's Wood in Hamptonshire, using the pictures the development team took during their scouting trip. To do so, they integrated old, medium-sized trees, a smattering of rocks, a soupçon of moss, and a bit of fog to complete this ominous atmosphere.
All right. Horsey. A leap of faith, rebuilding the past from the ground up.
As the monastery of Ely had been destroyed, level designers and artists had to draw their inspiration elsewhere. More specifically, from the Saint-Martin du Canigou Abbey in France. Despite the construction being 2 centuries older than AC Valhalla's time period, it offered interesting architecture for the players to enjoy. Atop a hill for great scenery, a cloister to clear the perspective, and the bell tower to provide an iconic viewpoint. Finally, an underground tunnel was added, a unique feat perfect for a surprise attack. But some things remain accurate. Several eels were placed in the waters circling the monastery, a nod to the feature that gave it its name.
Telling time. People in early Middle Ages understood time very differently than they do today. Some medieval scholars saw time as a creation of God. Time also gave rhythm and structure to people's lives. According to the Venerable Bede, the Latin word for time, tempus, came from the verbs temperamentum, measure. The origins of the word suggest that time and measurement are closely linked and that time was measurable in the Middle Ages. The reasons for measuring time back then are not the same as society's reasons today. Hours and minutes were not used to calculate how much time was needed to accomplish a task. The schedule of the day was mostly determined by the course of the sun in the sky. However, measuring time was very important when it came to religious holidays. Medieval scholars would rack their brains trying to calculate when to celebrate Easter. Determining the date of such a holiday was a very complex process and required a meticulous understanding of time, measurement, and arithmetic. How did they make mathematical and astronomical calculations without a calculator? By counting up to 9,999 on one's fingers, as illustrated in this manuscript. Oh, that's interesting. Then we have one more. Where is it? Here. Well, that literally is the last one. Monasteries, many roles. Early medieval monasteries were far more than just religious centers. Monasteries played a major role in the economic, political, and social fabric of medieval society. Monasteries served many purposes and needs. Pilgrims and other visitors would arrive seeking spiritual guidance, medicine, education, and more. As seen in this image, monasteries could grow to great sizes to meet their community's needs. Monasteries were also among the biggest local landowners, and by extension the biggest local employers in a given territory. Because they controlled people's lands and livelihoods, monasteries held immense social power and could help shape the political landscape. The authority and influence of the monasteries made them helpful meeting sites for other powerful elites. A local aristocracy and even royalty would gather at monastic centers to discuss politics. These nobles would often be joined by their entourage, whose presence offered its own set of challenges to their hosts. Already the monasteries had to provide food for all of these guests, a huge undertaking. They also had to take care that their own monks and nuns would not be tempted to sinfulness with the presence of so many worldly visitors. Alright, so that was it. Now we just need the ingredients.
They might have ale in the kitchens.
They might.
That's the third. Now for the last. The relics are kept at the back of the chapel. I have everything I need. Now to mix it.
Sister Winifred brought me the recipe from the scriptorium. And now I am delighted to discover you know the use of the mixing bench too. Would that God had sent you to me sooner? The infirmary would be in far better shape.
I spent many summers mixing poultices for the townsfolk in Canterbury.
Then I shall observe and hopefully learn some new tricks of my own. What was the first ingredient in Sister Winifred's remedy?
Seriously? As if I can remember this. I mean, ale.
The first ingredient is double brewed ale.
Which two ingredients did you gather in the forest?
It was feverfew and honey to ease the throat.
What did Sister Winifred suggest you substitute for the final ingredient?
Dust.
Dust from a relic is said to cure many ills. There. Done. This should ease Brother Osween's pain. Here, brother, drink this. It will ease your pain.
Thank you, brother. I can feel it working already. How fortunate I am that God sent you in my time of need.
Rest now. Soon you'll be back on your feet.
Brother Elrich, you must come at once.
What's the matter, brother?
Do you not hear the bells? The abbess requires your presence at chapel immediately.
I'll go as soon as I'm done.
I wonder if this is the character that you first played as that is gonna raid you in this quest. It probably is.
I hope the abbess will tell me what's going on.
Where are we going?
Abbess, what is happening?
Come with me, Brother Elrich. The heathens are on their way, and we must secure the relics before they approach.
Then we shall all flee together?
No, brother. The others prepare to fight. Collect the reliquary, please.
Forgive me, blessed saints, but I must carry you from your place of rest.
Now come, we have no time to spare. Take the relic to your father. Our families may share no love, but we are of a mind when it comes to the Lord. He will know what to do.
That man is a stranger to me.
As was our Lord Jesus Christ when he died on the cross for our sins. Help often comes from unexpected hands, brother. Now, follow quickly. Into the catacombs. Remain swift and silent.
Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters.
His flight ensured by the Abbess's sacrifice, Brother Eldridge is alone with a precious relic in hostile territory. To reach King Alfred's court, he will have to cross Viking ravaged lands and pray he is not discovered. Beautiful field. And we get a shiny reward. Well under. Fine raven. That is so cool. Let's see. Explore freely. I think we did everything. Yeah. Alright, so that is it for this episode. And if you like this, please like and subscribe and comment if you will. And thank you for watching. Bye bye for now.